March 17th Byram Hills Board meeting. I would ask for a motion to call the meeting to order.
So moved.
Second.
So that was Ira first and then Lori second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. That's unanimous, and so we are good. So
God called to order at 7:30.
Yep, thank you, Jen. I would ask for everyone to stand to recite the pledge, even though we're in different spots. We'll still do that. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. So before we get into the agenda, which we will momentarily, let me just do two things before I continue. Let me just ask if there are any comments from the public, since we do have the ability for the public to listen in, regarding items that are not on tonight's agenda.
There are, you can hear me, right?
Yes.
Yeah. There are no comments from the public.
Okay, thank you.
Tim, you're going to keep that line open in case anybody has a comment for any of the agenda items, okay?
Yep, exactly.
Thank you, Tim. And then I would ask for a motion to adopt tonight's agenda with one revision, which is an addition of 2.5, which would be a proposed executive session item. It's a personnel matter, individual employees. So can I get a motion for the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
So that was Mia and then Jason. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so that was unanimous.
This is public.
Okay, so before we go into the rest of the agenda, just a few overall comments given the fact that we are living in unprecedented times and we have an unprecedented board meeting with this format. First and foremost, obviously last week, we made the decision to close our schools, and that was not a decision that was taken lightly because it has obvious consequences to the community, whether it be childcare, whether it be free and reduced lunch, whether it be obviously the quality of educational services. I just want the community to know that this was done with much deliberation and after looking at every bit of available information that we had, despite the fact that at that point the state and the county guidance was not to close. We exercised our local judgment and took decisive action to close. I want to say first and foremost that I just commend everyone on the board and our administration for really coming together in true thought partnership around this. I think that in times like these, one of two things happens, and I think we've heard stories across the county where either people have come together and it's been very effective, or sometimes people in these situations in boards and with board administration come apart. And we truly came together to try to make the best decision for this community, for our teachers, administrators, students, staff, faculty. So I really thank everyone for that partnership. And I also want to thank the faculty and staff, because now we're navigating through all the ramifications of this and how to deliver quality instruction online. It's not something that was anticipated, that obviously was going to need to happen. And I know that everybody's working really very, very hard around the clock to try to make it happen. And starting tomorrow, that process will at least start. But I would encourage everyone just during this transition period in the community to have patience, because this will be a process. And I think the more that we get into this process, the better it will be. And so just some patience in this interim period will be greatly appreciated. And then lastly, just as we have this meeting electronically, we still do want to make sure that everybody understands that community input is valued and welcome, and they still have the ability to have input in this meeting, or obviously when we're not meeting to reach out to us in their individual capacity, because we are always happy to field questions. So with that, just as a backdrop, I will turn it over to Jen.
Okay, thank you so much, Scott. I just wanted to address our community because I know that our school community does receive updates from me and from Scott throughout this process, but I'd like to respond to even our greater community of people who might be watching, just to let our community know in response to the fast spread of the coronavirus in Westchester County, Byram Hills School District did close all schools last Thursday, March 12th. and we are to remain closed until April 13th for now. We are not sure what new guidance we're going to receive and what other decisions we're going to have to make. We hope that this measure really helped to ease the threat of the proximity of cases to our area and the potential for the spread of this virus here in our community. At the time that we closed schools, we had a parent of students in multiple buildings who were symptomatic after contact with another person with the coronavirus. That parent informed me that the first coronavirus test taken was inconclusive and another test was drawn with results only coming out today that he was positive for the coronavirus. The children of that parent remain healthy with no symptoms. The principals have contacted parents and staff in those buildings and said that in the event the children are tested positive, individual parents and staff will be notified. We anticipate that being anywhere from 2 to 4 days from now. Since our closure, our dedicated Board of Education administrators, faculty, and staff have really committed to provide as much continuity of information and education as possible. We've been developing e-learning opportunities for our children. The past 2 days, our staff has been distributing hundreds of Chromebooks to parents, and they've been permitting staff and parents to gather necessary materials for this new reality of e-learning that is upon us. A parent e-learning guide was issued on Sunday, and faculty will commence e-learning tomorrow. The district has also reached out to families whose children are eligible for lunch and have coordinated with those families for lunch pickups. We have had a generous community member purchase gift cards for families in need, which I personally distributed today. The county executive has also asked that all school districts provide childcare services for 30 children of emergency responders ages 5 to 12. The Armonk Children's Corner is looking into setting that up for us now. There will be a nurse on staff should this come to pass. We will learn more in the coming days. Yesterday, Governor Cuomo announced plans to close all schools in New York State for a 2-week period, effective March 18th until April 1st, 2020. The executive order requires that effective today, school districts shall allow non-essential personnel to either work from home or otherwise take leave without charging those time to accruals. What we have found at the conclusion of this 2-week statewide closure of April 1st, the state will assess our situation and everyone else and determine whether further closure is warranted beyond this 2-week period. By way of that executive order, the state suspended the 180-day instructional day requirement of education law. 2 final things I would like to note. One is guidance to our families. We've sent guidance asking people to maintain social distance, avoid close contact with peers and others. Now is really the time where you're going to realize that technology is the safest medium for our children to enjoy each other's company. And as we know, our children are adept at social platforms. So we're hoping that they utilize these to get together. Parents should, and children also, email school psychologists and guidance counselors for support. We are working, even though we are working remotely. We care about your families, we care about your children, and we are here to support them. And lastly, what is the district going to continue to do? We will develop e-learning over time. We plan to diligently engage in routine cleaning and disinfection procedures. Please know that if we do have a situation where we run a child care center for emergency responders, our school district will be sanitized prior to anybody returning. It will also be cleaned and disinfected on a daily basis. The district's going to continue to communicate with our community, but also remember respecting state and federal privacy rights of those who are impacted by this virus. I have to say that from my perspective as a superintendent, I have seen nothing short of a miracle as people in this school community and our social community coming together to help each other. I know that this is a very difficult and different time for our children. So whatever way we can make their lives as normal as possible through this social medium, we are going to do so. Please reach out to us if you need our support. And Scott, that is my opening.
Thank you very much. Anybody on the board have any questions before we transition to item 6. All right. So with that, let's go to budget hearing 2.
Is that Mia?
Okay, that is me. So thank you, everyone. We are in budget hearing 2, which is a review of the 2020-2021 expenditures for special services, technology, fine arts, curriculum, and instruction. Our budget development process is as follows. As you can see, we have already had budget hearing 1 and the administration's proposed budget on January 14th and March 3rd. Today, I described budget hearing 2. Next week, we will have budget hearing 3. March 31st, budget hearing 4. April 21st, the potential budget adoption, and May 5th, budget hearing 5 before our final vote on May 19th. Please know that during budget hearings 2 and 3, the public may ask questions or provide comments as we develop this budget. And now for our administration's proposed budget that was shown in our last meeting, the 2019-20 budget is going to be replicated for the 2020-21 school year, showing a 0% budget to budget increase from one year to the next. And I can't wait to see that picture in live action again, Kelly, that picture of kids playing outside on the Wampus obstacle course. All right, so administration's proposed budget, starting, Kelly will go on to describe our components, first one being programs for students with special needs. Kelly?
Thank you. The proposed 2020-21 Special Service and Health Services budget supports special education programs and services for our students with special needs, health services, psychological services, English as a new language, and accommodations for students who require a 504 plan. Currently, the district has 23 students placed in out-of-district programs. 3 of those students will be graduating at the end of this school year. Since the spring last year, the Board of Education entered into settlement agreements with 5 parents of students. At the end of this school year, 4 of those students under the settlement agreements will have graduated, and 1 student will return to the district. In terms of the expenditures, the increase in salary, the 5.9% increase in salary line is due to our contractual obligations, also with the addition of assistant director position for the 2021 school year and an additional 0.8 ENL teacher. The ENL teacher will provide services in Wampus, HCC, and the high school. This year, we had several new entrances requiring special, support for the mandated ENL services. We have 1 full-time ENL teacher who is located in Coleman Hill now and travels to Wampus and is unable to fulfill all the current mandates.
Kelly, it's important to note that that happens from time to time. We used to actually have 2 ENL teachers, and when our ENL population dropped, we had lost one of those positions. It really depends on the number of students we have. So that's something we've seen gains and losses in over time.
Right. The decrease in contractual and other of 5.3% is attributed to a change in placements and programs for our students. The 19.6% decrease in BOCES services, increase in BOCES services is due to behavioral supports and services for in-district students, students with school avoidance, anxiety, oppositional defiance. We require a daily behaviorist from Vital Behavior Services in order to meet the needs of few of our students with disabilities. The behaviorist also provides support and guidance to our administrators, teachers, and support staff. The behaviorist trains the aides in all 4 buildings during the fall on a de-escalation and basic behavior management techniques and strategy. The small increase, the 2.3% increase in material and supplies is due to a need to purchase Wilson reading materials for grades 6 through 8 and language for learning and connecting concepts curriculum for an 812 special ed class. Any questions on programs for students with special needs?
I'm sorry. Quick question. It's Mike. Kelly, I may have missed this in the very beginning. Just the number of students that we're servicing in the with special needs right now. Do we know that?
We don't have a number. I mean, I could get a number, but it's a percentage, and we are just about 13% of our students, which is exactly the same as most schools in Westchester County at this time.
And where it's been over the last several years.
Yes, it has. Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure. Okay, I'll just move on to computer assisted instruction.
And Kelly, just one other quick question, going back to just the salary line. When there would be a salary in this special needs bucket versus in the non-special needs bucket. So any teacher that is solely focused on students for special needs would be in here. But
Correct.
then if a student with special needs goes to, let's say, a music class or a gym class, that's not going to be shown here, right? Is that how to think about it?
Correct. Yep, that would be in your general code.
So these are all like this is all the direct instruction for special needs.
Correct.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Sure. Moving on to computer assisted instruction, the increase of 4.7% is to cover the new tech manager to assist with data privacy and project management. This addition is the reason there's a large reduction in the contractual and the other line, the over 70% reduction there. We're no longer be using an outside vendor. We're going to hire a position inside, so you see the decrease in the contractual and other, and the increase in the salary line. Equipment, a $10,000 increase. This is a line where we've been kind of tight in the last couple of years. There really hasn't been a lot of room for wiggle room, but this increase is due to data privacy, hardware, and any unforeseen costs that may come up. Obviously, as where we are now. Contractual services and other, the decrease represents a reduction of 2 full-time contractual staff members that we contracted out for. So again, that's going to be a savings for the district in terms of not contracting those services out. It's going back into an internal person in terms of salary coding. And finally, decrease in BOCES services. We made some adjustments with our BOCES services and what we purchased from BOCES. We've also reallocated, if you remember, we created a new code for safety and security budget code. So we've removed the camera, anything associated with camera installations and maintenance from the computer assisted instruction codes and put it in the new safety and security code. Any questions on computer and assisted instruction? Okay. Moving on to art, music instruction. This year, the Fine Arts Department continued working on enhancing the curriculum to move away from focusing solely on creating and performing to include more emphasis on responding and connecting through the arts. The teachers in the department have continued to supplement the work they're doing by providing outside connections to the arts. We would not be able to support these artistic endeavors without the support of the board and the support of the community. In this budget, you'll see that the increases are mainly attributed to contractual salaries. Otherwise, you'll see that there's decreases in both categories of art and music. You'll see decreases in contractual and other. These cuts reflect a decrease in the purchase of printing materials, many of which that we have reused and have gone to more of a digital age. One such example is the new music technology course at HCC, which uses music composition and musicianship software to teach skills in digital music. So again, art and music, just very small increases for the next year.
And then I'll speak about curriculum. Is that right, Kelly?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So there is a memo that details some of the items in my budget in your packet in my section, or in this section. And I want to just go over and briefly summarize 2 main areas that my budget supports, which is professional learning and then support for curricular programs. You'll see a small increase on this slide, which is anticipation for some additional programs, which I'll talk about in a moment. 3 main areas of my curriculum budget that the curriculum budget supports is first professional learning. We have an extensive summer program where teachers come in and do curriculum work in the summer. That's very intensive and focused, and that creates an alignment of our curriculum. and also allows us to spend time updating our curriculum maps and working on other innovative areas in curriculum design. It also supports our cyber camp, which has been a tradition of the district to bring technology integration, which is timely now even more. This is why we're successful in getting this launched fairly quickly. And then also professional development throughout the year, which would be through our local BOCES or other consultants we might bring in. The second area is on new program materials. So as you know, we've developed many STEAM courses in the past few years, as well as our Global Scholars program. So purchasing materials for those programs, as well as recently intervention tools in both math and literacy at the elementary level, and also looking at a new science curriculum in 6th grade. And then third, the other areas being mandated services, such as our academic intervention services and additional intervention tools. So priorities for next year include looking at supporting world languages and working with Ms. Stahl as the world language chair, looking at social emotional learning curriculum, and then our ongoing support of mathematics of our new math program. And additionally, we've been doing a review of our K-5 literacy program. And that's where some materials increase comes from, which is looking at a literacy program and some new development in that area, K-5. And additionally, as we're engaging in this e-learning platform, Dr. Taylor and I have been thinking about a learning management system. So we may anticipate some shifts in our summer focus, depending on how the rest of the year goes, and putting some resources toward additional technology training and e-learning training for our faculty. I'm confident this budget will adequately support our learning needs of our faculty and support our students.
Thank you, Tim. I will speak about public information services. This is essentially anything that is going out to our public through our Byram Hills Media Center. So you'll notice that we have stayed the same for our proposed budget for our BOCES publications. That's really a lot of our printing services. Also, we have for the Media Center, contractual and other, there is less than any significant increase there. And as a matter of fact, a decrease in supplies. I'm happy to say that this has been very successful, this launch of this media center, which is actually why we are live streamed right now to our school community that is supporting this budget. Tim, I want to make sure before we finish with the budget that first there are any questions from the Board of Education, and then if you have any questions that have been written into you. So board members, anyone with any questions? Okay, Tim, any questions from the public?
At this time, there are no questions from the public.
Okay, and so I will conclude on the last slide with just reminding the public of our dates. March 24th, we will have budget hearing 3. That is another time that the community may ask questions, inquire about the budget, express any interests or concerns. And then March 31st, we will have budget hearing 4, April 21st, budget adoption, May 5th, budget hearing 5, and our budget vote on May 19th. And that concludes our budget hearing 2.
Great. Thank you. All right. So now we go to item 7 on the agenda, which is our unfinished business policies. We have a second read for 7100 facilities planning, 8110 safety program, 8134 emergency closings, delays, dismissals, 8220 buildings and ground maintenance and inspection, and then 2 policies for deletion, 8100 and 8112. So maybe Tim, if you want to, before we go into a motion, if you want to just give us an overview.
Yep, sure. So we have these 4 policies that we reviewed at and answered questions at the last meeting. These policies are all centered around facilities, and Gina and I in the policy committee have looked at several related policies. You'll see that there are 2 policies recommended for deletions. Those have been integrated into 8220 because there were policies, there was overlap in those policies, and we made it all one policy to condense the information. So if there's any questions, I would be happy to answer those.
Anybody have any questions? Go ahead, Ira.
On the emergency closings, delay and dismissals, 8134.
Mhm.
In subparagraph 4, where it states inability of teaching personnel to report for duty.
Right.
I mean, I don't like to wordsmith this, but I got to ask this question: is inability the correct word for that? I mean, would it simply be an absence? I mean, whether an absence of an absence of teaching personnel. I mean, for example, would we consider closing schools if we had a massive teacher walkout, a labor event, and teachers decided that, as they have in some districts, they're not going to work today. They're going to picket instead. Would that be a basis to close schools?
So I guess, Jen, I'm not sure if you have the policy pulled
Yeah,
up.
I have the policy in front of me, Ira. That does not. It's the actual inability of them to report to duty. So that might be a weather condition.
Right.
That might be something that we're experiencing right now. Let's say if there were so many faculty members quarantined who couldn't come into work. That's the inability. That is not, a person who's picketing outside of a school is able. And our collective bargaining agreements also specify that cannot happen. So I don't think that this is a policy covering that. That's covered under our collective negotiations.
Okay. I mean, collective bargaining can say what it says. It hasn't stopped teachers in other districts from doing it. And I'm not suggesting in any way they would, but I guess that could also perhaps constitute an emergency condition that would have to be addressed by the superintendent anyway in the paragraph 3.7. Okay, I just wanted to hear the clarification. That's fine.
Thank you. Yep. Any other questions?
Good question.
No.
Okay, so I would ask for a motion to approve the second read of 7100, 8110, 8134, 8220, and then for the deletion of 8100 and 8112.
So moved.
So moved.
So we have
Second.
Ira first and then Lara. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, so that's unanimous.
Aye.
Too late.
Forgot the mute was on.
So I think we do not have any staff reports tonight, but I just want to confirm that is the case.
I just want to say one thing, and I'm sorry I didn't jump in when Jen was speaking earlier. Board presidents take on additional responsibility when the board selects them. But other than 9/11, I just don't remember an event that called upon a board president to really take on the extra work that Scott did. And I know he did it a lot with Lara and Jen, and I think we really are in your old debt for the way you carried the district forward during this period. So congratulations. I really think it was a job very well done by the leadership of the board in this.
I appreciate that. And again, I want to
Thank you.
reiterate that I'm really so proud of the fact that we all pulled together and worked together to try to come up with the best solution. And certainly want to point out between Jen and Gina and Tim and all the work that they did behind the scenes and then up front to communicate with faculty, staff, parents. I mean, just truly always looking out for the best interest of the community. So I think, yeah.
I think the community should be justly proud in their board. I think it was a job well done.
Here, here.
Thank you.
All right. Anybody else have any board report or anything else to report? All right. Communication to the board, item 10, with all that's going on. I'm just trying to think of what to report out on that. We did receive, several emails just in the process of all this. But I don't think anything was an official communication to the board. Yeah. Anybody aware of any official communication? Okay.
I did have two parents come to me at Equinox before they closed it, saying how they were in agreement with the board decision to close. I guess that goes under a communication to a citizen. I wasn't acting as a board member when I got it, but you should know these people took their time to tell me, to tell you how they were pleased with the decision, how they thought it was, as they thought it was a correct decision. And these are people who are fairly tuned into community, who post a lot, and they really they wanted their voice to be heard. And so I promised them I would tell them about it. So you are hereby told.
Excellent. Okay, so with that, I would ask for a motion to adjourn.
How about going to executive session?
Oh, I thank you, Ira. Yes, and that that is fair. So let me first say that I propose to go into executive session for item 2.1, contract matter negotiations, 2.2, district matter individual student, 2.3, personnel matter individual employee, 2.4, board of education matter board officers, and then the revision that we had, which is 2.5, personnel matter individual employee.
So moved.
Second,
That was Ira, and was that Jason or Mike?
Mike.
Mike.
Mike, thank you, Mike. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, so
Time is 8 p.m. for the record.
8 p.m. Yep.
And we will be leaving this site to board members, and we will be going into the executive session site.
Okay.
To our community, I'd just like to say, continue to reach out to your teachers, to your school administrators, to your school support staff for any help that we may give you during this time. We look forward to creating opportunities for your children to continue to learn. And we want you to know that we miss them very much.
You're here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Night.